Today I'm going to show you how you can record some EDM vocals using your own voice, just like these ones.
Walking through my mind, I can see you so far through the longest night.
Welcome to the channel, guys. Today we're going to go through the vocals I use on my latest release, Feel Your Touch. Go stream it everywhere, by the way. Like, everywhere. And for those of you who don't know, the voice that was used on the track was mine. And I'm not a singer, so this can be really helpful for producers out there. So let's jump into the project. Alright guys, so as you can see, this is the project. I recorded the vocals on a separate project because of CPU problems, right? We have the instrumental right here. Let's give it a quick check. And then the drop. Alright, so right here we only have the main vocals. I also recorded the drop ones, but then I didn't process them here. And I'll also be doing a tutorial on that on the next video. Let's listen to the instrumental with the main vocals, and it sounds like this.
I can feel your touch through the sleepless nights. I can feel your touch. It's just you and I know.
Alright, if you listen to the vocals solo, this is what we have.
Through my mind, I can see you so far through the longest night.
So you can see we have a lot of automation, and there's also a lot of processing. So if you go by parts, let's first start with the vocal without anything on it. And sorry for the mess that I have here. Nothing is organized on this project. So this is how the vocals sound solo with no processing.
I can feel your touch through the sleepless night.
Okay, as you can see, I don't have the best voice. I'm a bit out of tune. Can't really reach those highs and all of that. But it's also not a terrible one, so that's why it works. And guys, be careful. Plugins won't do miracles, all right? They will definitely make your voice sound better, but it's always important to know how to record, how to use your mic, your distance, and obviously try to sing as good as possible. All right, so let's go by steps for the main vocal. What I added here, a 30 EQ to start off. This is just to cut out some of the low end that was doing nothing here. Then when we add auto-tune, it sounds really nice. So if you see this part right here, you can hear the auto-tune work.
I can see you so far.
Okay, so it sounds really robotic, and the way we're gonna correct that is by adding some reverb on it. I'm pretty sure I used some Melodyne on this before the auto-tune, but I had to export it so it wouldn't mess with the CPU, but it were just some little tweaks to put everything to the right place. Right, moving on, we got the glue. This is a compressor. We're using it to compress the vocals and, you know, preserve the dynamics of the vocals. So it goes like this.
I can see you so far.
Obviously, the first thing you have to do before starting to processing the vocals is to level its volumes. As you can see, I try to do that probably right here. Okay, so if I open this up a bit, you can see that I lowered a bunch of parts that were sounding louder than the rest of the vocal, but still the compressor is still really working hard to level all those parts. So as you can see on this part, when I put the compressor on,
I can see you so.
As you can see on the so far, it's really compressing the heck out of it, right? Then moving on, I added fruity balance. This is again to volume a bit of the vocal. Then moving on to the distortion part, I added Camel Crusher, which is a nice distortion plugin that I pretty much use in all my tracks. And this is before.
I can see you so.
And then after.
I can see you so far.
Okay, I used it to add a bit more harmonies, a bit more distortion, and also make it a bit loud. Then I added some sound goodizer for pretty much the same effect.
I can see you so.
And sound goodizer really boosts a bit of the eyes of the vocals. Then some Ozone 8 vintage compressor. This is another compression technique to tame it down after the distortion.
I can see you so far.
All right, so you can see it's compressing it quite a bit. For the glue that I used, I forgot to show, but the threshold is at around -18. We have a ratio of 4, then a release of 6 and an attack of 1 millisecond. Then moving on, after the vintage compressor, I add another compressor, and this is OTT. I like to add it to give extra punch. It's at 8%, so really small tweak. We can listen without.
I can see you so.
And then with.
I can see you so.
You can barely notice it, but it gives it a bit more punch. Right, then last but not least, the EQs. This is just to tame some of the frequencies. I lowered it a bit on the lower mids to take out that muddiness. I boosted it up a bit on the highs because my voice is kind of low. Then I also added the last EQ just to cut out all the rumble. I'm not sure if you need 2 EQs doing this because I added one at the beginning and one at the end. The way I go around it is I think that distortion adds a lot of harmonies everywhere, so I tend to always cut it down at the end again. But probably the first one wouldn't be needed, but I feel like I don't want to be sending that low end rumble to auto-tune, so that's why I cut it right here, and I also cut it at the end. Let me know in the comments if it makes any sense to you or not. So yeah, this is how the vocal sounds.
I can see you so far.
Okay, last but not least, guys, I added some reverb and some delay. So how I did this is I route the main vocal to the reverb bus right here and to the delay bus. As you can see right here, we just add a little bit of it on the reverb bus. So we just send a little bit of the vocal, and you need to have both the reverb and the delay at 100% wet. All right, so for the reverb, I used FLFilter Pro R, a reverb I love really much. As you can see, it's at 100% on the mix right here. And then I just use some EQ to cut off the low end and the high end. And it's really important to use some EQ to cut off your reverb on a separate channel, because otherwise you'd be cutting off dry information of the vocal, and you don't want that. You just want to EQ the reverb separately. All right, so let's listen to the vocal with the reverb.
I can see you so.
And as you can see, I automated the reverb right here. So every time I finish a sentence, I add a bit of extra reverb. So this is without. Let's see the first phrase of the song.
I can feel your touch.
Really dry, and then we add a bit of reverb.
I can feel your touch.
See, and it's so much wider, so much nicer. We can listen to this in the context of the track. So if you take the reverb out, it goes like this.
I can feel your touch.
And the song instantly dies. But if we add some reverb,
I can feel your touch.
it's a bit longer and fills it a bit more. And obviously I also added some ear canning, some back vocals that do this.
I can feel your touch.
So there's not a silence part, a dead part, but we'll get to it in a few minutes. So after the reverb, I added some delay. And this was Echo Boy right here at 100% wet, also in the mix. This is a classic analog delay. You can copy the settings if you want to try it out. And then we also sent this to the delay bus and automated it right here. And I did pretty much the same that I do with the reverb. As you can see, I've also did this on other tutorials on other tracks of mine. I'm pretty much just adding some reverb, adding some delay after the end of each phrase. All right, so this is without. And then with.
I can feel your touch.
And if we listen just carefully with the delay,
I can feel your touch.
you see it pretty much just repeats the last word.
I can feel your touch.
Right? And yeah, I do that throughout the whole song and it works really well. And that was it for the main vocals, guys. I don't think there's anything else I did. I see that I have this silence fill delay. Not sure where I used this. I think I used it on the second part. So right here.
I wanna kiss your lips and try.
And it really dies out. So I felt like there was a big silence part that didn't make sense. And the way I fixed that was to add some delay and some reverb on this channel right here called Silence Fill Delay. And it has some reverb and some Echo Boy as well. And a fruity shaper to make it a bit wider. All right. And I also added a volume shaper, but this was to fix some little things because it has some attack noise. So it's really not important. And this is how it sounds after.
I wanna kiss your lips and try.
So it repeats the word.
Hold you in my chest and let you cry.
And on the second part, instead of doing the same, what I did was I cut out this let you cry part.
And let you cry.
And I reduced the format out of it. If you don't know how to do that, you just go to Edison right here. So edit sample and you click Alt T and you have this pitch shifter and format shifter. And if you press it right here and you play it. All right, obviously this has a lot of reverb. I can take it out for you to listen. Okay, so it really sounds nice. And then we add some reverb to make it really big with a really small dry and a big wet. And it goes like this. It really sounds in the back. And to finish it off, I also added some stereo shaper to make it even wider. All right, and that was it for the main vocals, guys. Moving on, we have some vocal ear candies. So I added this Adlibs on every silence part of the main vocal. So they go like this.
Feel your touch.
And at the Adlibs right here, what this is pretty much just some EQing. Okay, so it goes like this.
No.
EQing to remove the low end. Then we add a glue the same way we did to compress it a little bit. Then some reverb, 3D reverb. And once again, some really low dry and a bigger wet to give it that wide effect. So this is without. And then with. Crazy, right? And then some fruity delay. Just to repeat that last syllable of the vocal. And then at the end, I also added some fruity EQ once again, as I explained to you, to remove anything below 100 Hertz. Besides the ad-libs, we also have some vocal dubs that go like this.
I can see you
So this one is on the left and this one is on the right.
I can see you
So the way you do this is, and I've explained this in many tutorials as well, is you record the same exact vocals. All right, so don't copy them because you then have phase issues. You record the same exact vocals and you send one all the way to the left right here and another one all the way to the right, and it gives you this spatial effect that sounds like this. All right, and then when the main vocal goes like this. If we take out the dubs, sounds a bit dry, sounds a bit centered, and then with. And obviously, with all the processing, it will be like this. So crazy atmosphere with the vocals. For these dubs, guys, I don't think I did much. It's pretty much just some auto-tune. Yeah, so I have the dubs channel right here. Pretty much some auto-tune that I had to remove because of CPU problems, but I exported it. It's the exact same auto-tune as the main vocals, but I probably used a bit more of return speed. So I think on the main vocals, I have it at 12 and I probably put it at like 3 or something. And then the glue once again to compress it and some free reverb just to make them a bit wider, all right? And yeah, we also did that for the second part of the vocals. So we have the ad-libs right here once again, and then some dubs. And these ones sound a bit different. So one of them, I think it sounds a bit lower and it works really, really well. Check it out.
Let me be your savior for the night.
If we check it in the song without the dubs, it goes like this.
Let me be your savior for the night.
Sounds good, but then with the dubs.
Let me be your savior for the night.
Really big atmosphere, really big atmosphere. And then I use it once again here.
Feel your touch till the day I die.
And right before the drop. So if you check these ones. And yeah, it's as easy as that, guys. There's no magic to it, all right? It's just sort of trial and error. Really try to record your vocals and see what works. And I think that really covers it. I think I showed it in detail. Let me know if you want to get this FLP or not. And yeah, for next week, I'll be doing this tutorial, but on the drop vocals. If you don't know how they sound, just go stream Feel Your Touch and you can listen to it, all right? And that is it. Let me know if you have any questions in the comment section below, or if there's anything I didn't explain that well and you wanted to learn. And that's it. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope this video was helpful for you. Don't forget to go check Feel Your Touch. I really appreciate that support, and I'll see you next time. Happy producing.